as you guys can see by the title, I had a red day today. Definitely a harder day to trade. I'm talking about February 18th. You guys are coming from a different day. It was a tough day to trade for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you. In this video, I'm going to walk you guys through the 2 trades that I took, which one resulted in a loss, and my second one resulted in my first take profit being hit, and then my last 50% being stopped out at break even. So you guys can see my P&L for the day right here is negative 119. With the fees, it was actually more like negative 200. So in this video, I'm going to be going over the first setup that I took, which was based off trapped sellers, or so I thought. And the second trade was actually more of like a forced entry, but I'm going to walk you through more in depth on that when we get there. So before I even start this live recap, I want to say shout out to everybody who is joining the Discord and everyone who is active in the Discord. It's nice to have everybody's different inputs. Like, everyone trades order flow for the most part. It's crazy to see everyone's different style and different way of interpreting the market based on order flow. So shout out to you guys. And on top of that, if you guys like these recap videos, please subscribe to my channel and give this video a like. Let's just get right into the live recording. All right, so this time I'm in the bottom right corner. My first entry was at 8:38 Central, which would be 9:38 to you Eastern timers. And like I said, that was based off trapped sellers, or so I thought. And I will walk you guys exactly through the live recording that made me want to take the trade. As always, my P&L is what you're looking at on the top left. But in this very moment, I'm noticing this delta right here on the DOM. What I'm looking for in this very moment is I want to see more selling come in that continues to show like absorption. And that's what I was looking for to take a long entry, which does end up happening. But right here, you see some strong selling come in, and we are getting a little bit of absorption, but nothing crazy, I guess. All right, so you just saw some significant effort from sellers come in here. So I saw that significant effort from sellers, and then I saw price move right back up into that initial volume area right here. All right, so you're about to see me impulsively take this entry long right here. You just saw me enter 15 contracts, 15 micros long, and my entry was at 142.25. This is obviously a bad price to start out with. And then on top of this, I'm going to explain a little bit more why I believe this entry was a low quality entry after I get stopped out. So what just happened right there was I got the worst possible price for my trade thesis. So yeah, my stop loss for this trade was 4 points. It was a full size stop, and what it should have been was right below this low. Like I said, this entry was garbage, and in hindsight, I realized I was viewing this incorrectly. I was viewing this as trapped sellers. The reason why I believed that that really wasn't the case was because there was not really a floor at which sellers were being absorbed that they couldn't break through. This initial thesis was based off of this delta I see here at 42 to from 142 to 140. And you guys just saw that there was significant selling that came in that went right through that level. And now we had returned back to that level. I believe in hindsight that this trade was bad because it really wasn't like sellers couldn't break through a certain area. There definitely is some delta here. And on the session, this definitely stood out to me. But in hindsight, all of my trapped sellers entries occur when there is a cluster or a zone where sellers cannot break through. In hindsight, what I probably should have waited for this entry is I probably should have waited for an area to appear where sellers could not break through with volume. And we have not seen that yet. Price is really not giving us that much opportunity yet today to trade how I trade, which how I trade, you need volume and you need volatility. And right now we're pretty much trading exactly where we opened up at.
Order filled.
So I just doubled down on my position right here, and I'm in for 30 contracts long because I viewed this selling here as significant selling that couldn't move price down. And also what gave me this thesis was I liked how that happened where volumes seemed to drop off. Now, obviously, you can see that it's not really working out for me right away. In fact, I actually added to one, a terrible entry, and two, which I didn't know this until now, or I didn't realize this till now, but my thesis was kind of just weak. I'm sure you could have guessed that I just get stopped out of this position, which I do, for a full 4-point loss. And that trade totaled like a $550 loss, which was decent hit on my account, which was 3,500. So my Trade Zella says that this trade was a $500 loss, but it was actually more like a 550 with the fees. That was my first entry. I'm going to stop out here like any second. Just to reiterate what was wrong with this trade was my thesis was actually weak. I had a terrible entry and my stop loss was technically at a place that didn't invalidate my trade, like barely, but it was just a bad entry overall. One thing that I've noticed during times where the session is like this, where we're barely moving, we're moving slow, and there's not volatility, is delta will look like sellers are being trapped right here, but in reality, they're not trapped at all. I have definitely taken similar entries on low quality days where the delta looks like a trapped participant type of setup, but in reality, that's not the case at all. So that's kind of what happened with that entry. As you can see, I just get stopped out. So I just sized up today to 15 contracts. And then on top of that, I doubled down for this position, which was a mistake in hindsight. Hindsight is always 20/20. That's what happened with the first entry. So my second entry was at 854, and I took the market short at 61.3850. And to be totally honest with you guys, this trade, it made sense to me in my head. So the reason why I took it short was because despite rallying up 6 or 7 points, the CVD was telling me that this buying was not really significant. So I decided, since we cracked 135, I decided that since this buying was weak, it was worth a try to take short. And where I put my stop loss at for this trade was at 6,142, which was right where the lower volume area starts. Like I said, it wasn't really a setup that I have in my playbook. It was just like, in my mind, it made sense, but this was probably not the best trade to take. It was probably more of what you might consider a forced trade, or a trade that was outside of my strategy, but it did work out actually. So I'm just going to show you guys that. We get some selling volume. And what I was targeting was, I was targeting my first half of the position.
Order filled.
So there was my first half of the position, just got taken off at 10 points in profit. So at this point, I moved my stop loss to break even. And the rest, I was targeting 6,121 to 6,115. Definitely takes a while to play out. And I just said, I'm going to stop out, or I'm going to hit TP on this. I stopped the recording before this position gets closed, but I get stopped out on my last half, and that position, which then made my account balance 3,278. So that's what happened today. Ended negative 200 on the day. Trade Zella says negative 119, but it was with the fees, negative 200. Obviously, losing days are going to be inevitable. So although I lost some money today, I'm actually pretty happy with how the losing day turned out. But once again, if you guys enjoy these recaps, please give my channel a subscribe and like, and I will catch you guys in the next one.